Is it not? Is it not? All right, we're good. We're live now. We're live. Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome to Tuga Tuesday. It's not Tuga Tuesday, it's a special edition of the show because a game preview of the El Clasico, the biggest game of the season. Here, of course, I'm going to be on Gold TV calling that game. And I'm glad that I have with me today the man of the podcast, the hardest working man in the social media universe, Mr. Zach Lowe. How you doing today?
Doing very well, my friend. Really excited for the first Classico of the season, and I have a feeling it's going to be an absolute blast.
Absolutely. I'm so pumped, and of course, I'm so pumped because we got the lineup. We were talking about the lineups here, and I've been waiting for this for the entire season for Roger Smith to play with Di Maria, Rafa, and Neres behind Peter Parker. We got Kokshu and we have Neves. But Orsnes as a left back, we want to talk about that aspect on the left back position for Benfica, Nico Tamendi, Tonio Silva, Alexito Va, and Trubin under the pipes. With Porto, we have Galeno, Taremi, and Pepe on top. Varela, Eustaquio. Is that Romario Baró? I don't see. Let me see. Romario Baró starting today, yeah? Huh? Look at that. We got Wendell, Carmo, and Cardoso, and Joe Mario under the pipes. One of the best, if not the best, goalie in the Primera Liga, Mr. Diogo Costa. Zach, I was watching all these press conferences from Schmidt and from Conceição. Kind of similar messages, but kind of not. That the most important one for me is the one from Roger Schmidt saying that. Of course, in the press conferences, everybody was talking. Hey, what about this record that Porto has on you? You only beaten once, and Conceição has a fantastic record here. And he said, "You know what? I don't care about the last game, the last week, the last day. No, I care about only, and on this game." What do you think about that approach from Roger Schmidt, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only approach that you can have. It's not about what happened last year. It's not what happened about in 2021. Obviously, Sergio Conceição is a fantastic manager and thrives in these big games where the pressure is on. He has a lot more experience in that aspect in terms of these high stakes Champions League fixtures as well as Clásicos. But with regards to Schmidt, I don't think that he's necessarily had a bad record against Porto either. Obviously, we saw Benfica pick up a 1-0 win against Porto last season. Porto going down to 10 men early on. But yeah, I think that it's what counts is what's happening today, September 29th. And we're going to find out very soon.
Absolutely. And I want to find out if the momentum of Porto finally is it going to change or not, because to be honest, that the team hasn't been performing at a top 2 caliber level. They pulling off these crazy results, 2-1, 2-1, 4 times out of the 6 games in the season, and none of the games, in not a single game, Porto was convincing. This is the time to be convinced, is it?
It is, and yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The fact is, when you look at the 90 minutes of performances that Porto have served up in every match, oftentimes it just hasn't looked secure. It hasn't looked good enough. And I do think that they have certainly ridden their luck, right? They've scored a tremendous amount of extra time goals and yet have a near perfect record. But that, in fairness, is what makes this Porto team so great under the reign of Conceição. That ability to grind out results whilst not playing your best football. But I also think that in part it is due to adaptation. I think that Otavio was perhaps the most indispensable player in the Primeira Liga over the past 2-3 years. And losing a player of his caliber and importance is going to be a killer blow for any team. So that's certainly something that is going to take time. I have to say, I think that, that was going to be the biggest question mark going into this Classico when Otavio was sold to Al Nassr just a month ago. But yeah, it seems that Conceição has gone with Romario Baró, to my surprise. I thought that Ivan Jaime and Andre Franco were more likely candidates. But yeah, going with Barreau, who's was obviously
It's kind of shocking.
a rated product at the youth level. Won the youth league just a few years ago, but hasn't really been able to find consistency due to injuries. Being loaned out to clubs such as Casapia, hasn't really been able to make his mark. But getting the start in the biggest game of the opening months of the season, it's quite a surprising one. But yeah, the pressure is going to be on him, on Steven Eustachio, as well as their new signing Alan Varela. I think that's where the game is going to be won and lost today, the center of the pitch.
Center of the pitch, not in the back, having the absences of key absences for Porto with no Pepe and no Ivan Marcano. There's a lot of question marks on Fabio Cardoso, and especially on David Carmo, who is not yet to take off on his performances with Porto. I think I agree on that one, but also I'm going to agree on something else that Roger Schmidt pointed out is that he said that whoever team is going to be able to dominate the opponent, to influence the game, is the team that is going to be able to get the 3 points here at the Luz. But also talking about that dominance, it's the dominance is on the rise for Benfica, and especially in the last, I'm going to say 2 games. I'm going to take out the loss to the in the Champions League game, but in the Premier League, in the domestic competition, this is Benfica and Sporting, the only ones in the entire competition that are being able to dictate a tempo on games. Do you think that Benfica will be able to dictate a tempo today against Porto?
I think that that's going to be the aim, certainly. I think they're going to try to retain possession. Obviously, playing at home, that's always going to be a positive factor. But I think that with my history of watching these matches, not just Benfica Porto, but Porto Braga, Sporting Porto, it tends to be very cagey. You don't see too many teams with long spells of possession. But I think what it's going to come down to, number one, it's going to be physicality, right? Who's going
Right.
to be first in the physical duels? And also, who is going to be the first to the loose ball, to sweep up danger, to pounce on a long ball? These are all going to be the biggest questions. And as well, one thing that Porto do tremendously well is holding their shape, staying compact, and defending deep. And they're like a boxer who will kind of dance along the ropes and let their opponent tire themselves out, and then boom, hit on the counter. Right,
Right. The Mayweather's, huh?
do that today. I think that's going to be a very big question. But I think that with regards to that lineup, um, I mean, there are obviously a lot of question marks, given, as I mentioned, absences to their starting center backs, Pepe and Ivan Marcano, as well as the departure of Otavio, right? But I think that Alan Varela and Eustachio, okay, that was going to be fairly likely. But as I mentioned, Barreau, that's a really interesting pick by Sergio Conceição. And as far as the front three goes, Mehdi Taremi, a player who, I'll admit, I think he's been kind of lacking in form this year in recent months. I think perhaps he feels disappointed to miss out on a move to Milan. But it goes without saying, when he's on his form, he is the best striker in Portugal. So, which Mehdi Taremi is going to show up? That's going to be one of the biggest questions for Porto. And, with regards to the other attackers, I think that Wenderson Galeno, he's another player who, when he's on his day, when he's got confidence, as we saw in their Champions League opener, he's just so unstoppable, and he could make life very difficult for Alexander Ba, a player who's done very well at Benfica. But as we've seen in quite a few high stakes affairs, has a tendency to get a booking fairly early on. So yeah, that's going to be a big question, I think, for Porto. With regards to Benfica, though, and their lineup, I think that Anatoly Trubin, Alexander Silva, and Otamendi, obviously, I think that picks itself. My biggest question is going to be at the left back department. Losing Alex Grimaldo, obviously, that's a massive blow to any team. But yeah, you look at their options. Jurasek kind of had a nervy start. Juan Bernat, I
Sí, sí,
believe,
claro, dame un segundo.
I'm not sure if he's on the bench.
Zach,
Bernat,
give me 1 second. Let me do the sound check here. Can you hear me, guys? Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We're live here. Phone side the loose. Good. All right. We're good. That. Go ahead.
no, just yeah. As I was saying, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Bernat is on the bench or not. But I'll admit I like Frederick Arsenis a lot. But I just think that left back, it's kind of for me, it's a waste of his abilities. It's a player who's a lot more effective
Yeah.
higher
Yeah.
up the pitch. So I think that's a big call. And like I said, I'm not sure if Jurasek or Bernat are available. But personally, I would have gone with Bernat if I had the choice. But obviously, he hasn't played too much for his new side.
Bernard is not on the bench.
You look at the midfield. I think that Florentino Luis would have been an interesting pick given his physicality and his ability to recover possession. But I think that going with Joao Neves and Orkan Koku, that was always going to happen. Roger Schmidt is above all focused on not making mistakes in possession, in having the ball and trying to build out of pressure, which are all qualities that serve Koku and Neves better. But yeah, as you mentioned, I too am as a neutral observer of Portuguese football, I'm very excited to see essentially Roger Schmidt unleash this team and take the training wheels off, if you will. Going
Yeah.
with Rafa Silva, David Neres, and Angel Di Maria. Yeah, I mean that's Benfica's best front three behind the center forward. I'm not sure who their best option is for the Gonzalo Ramos void at number 9. Is it going to be
It's Musa. It's Musa.
Musa, Kasper Tengstedt? I mean, of course, Musa I think has done enough to be the starter as of now. Is he the long term option? I'm not so sure, but I do think that Rafa, Neres, and Di Maria. I mean that has everything to be a very powerful front three, and I'm glad that he's gone with that attacking quartet. And I believe Joao Mario dropping to the bench against his former side. I haven't had a chance to take a look at the benches yet, but I think that's probably the right call. As good as he was last season, you just look at a player like Di Maria, who was so effective in big games. For me, one of the best big game players that I have ever watched. You look at a player like Rafa Silva, who I've been critical of in terms of his ability, in terms of his tendency to drop his form, to drop his levels in the second half of the season, but still so consistent and so important in these big games. Had a massive impact, right? Setting up David Neres' winner when these two sides met a year ago. And of course, the other players so effective. So yeah, I think that this is going to be a very interesting battle, and I'm really excited to see who wins the match, but also who wins the duel of the flanks, right? Because I think Pepe and Galeno, as well as Neres,
And
Rafa,
then,
and Di Maria, who will probably be interchanging positions constantly.
right.
I think that
Absolutely.
this is just going to be very intriguing to see how it plays out.
I think for Porto, the most stronger side is the one on the left with Wendell and Galeno. I think that's the route that is going to be the heaviest route for Porto in the attack. But you think I was looking at it's Kokshu, right? Kokshu. That I was trying to pronunciate right this last name from the Turkish, and that's another player that still I think still not there at his full potential yet. Hopefully, we get to see in that tonight at the Luz. In do you have any scoreboard in mind,
Do I
Mister?
have any predicted scores for today?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I will go with. I think it's going to be a high scoring affair. I think there are going to be a lot of. I think it's going to be an intense, emotional battle. Wouldn't be surprised if we see, 8 or 9 bookings. I wouldn't be surprised if
Oh
we
yeah.
see some red cards either. But I think that it's going to be a high scoring affair, and I think okay, it's hard to bet against Angel Di Maria. He scores in just about every single big game
Pretty
that he
much.
plays, right? So yeah, I think that he's going to get on the back. He's going to find the back of the net. As far as Porto goes, um, I'm gonna go with. I think that there are a lot of potential options. Actually, I think I would have maybe even gone with Marcano if he was fit. But I do think that there's a chance that we could see a defender score for either side. Maybe
Maybe
Carmo, maybe
Otamendi.
Otamendi, because we've seen in cagey affairs like this, set pieces are so important. But I think another player who I'm going to go with, Wenderson Galeno. For me, yeah, when he's on it, his ability to just kind of beat defenders from a standing start, beat defenders with his physical tools, and get himself into dangerous scoring positions. I think he's a player who, yeah, is kind of. It's hard to predict which Galeno will show up. Right, he can be very frustrating, constantly losing possession, overhitting crosses, and taking poor first touches. But I think that we're going to see a similar version of the Galeno that showed up for Porto's opening match
Yeah.
day against Shakhtar. I think that
Yeah.
he's going to have a big role to play as Porto try to continue their perfect start, their unbeaten start.
I wanna go. I want to get this right. I want to get Galeno with a brace. I want one from Di Maria and one from Joao Neves. So I'm 2-2. That's my score for tonight. And also I want to see this historically this clásicos between Benfica and Porto. Adalus is when Benfica the mind games is usually won by Porto, and on this campaign where Benfica is, I'm not gonna say it's in a high role, but for me this is the team that plays the most attractive soccer right now in the tournament. They're coming on a high pace at a high level, and Porto is coming with this blue collar mentality, knowing that they're not playing the best soccer in but they're still compact and they're still dangerous and this like a Rocky, right? Rocky. It's Rocky versus Ivan Drago. This matchup tonight. Who do you think is coming stronger mentally between the two?
Um, Honestly, I would say it's 50-50 because Benfica, they're the defending champions, right? They're coming off a 2-0 win against Porto in the Super Cup, and right apart from that, obviously they've lost to Salzburg and they lost to Boavista in the first day, but they've been, I think, 5 straight wins in the league. They've been red hot domestically, and they know that they have the quality to win this game in possession. Obviously, losing Gonzalo Ramos in the summer, that's a big blow. But I do think that Petar Musa, his goal scoring instinct, his ability to get into these positions, that's going to be very important for them. My biggest question is, Musa has been, for the most part, a super sub, right? A player who's done a lot better coming off the bench because that's what he's mainly been accustomed to, right? How is he going to fare, though, going up against not tired legs, but rested legs, right? Players who are ready to compete, right? I think that's going to be very interesting. But yeah, as far as Porto goes, I mean, they are so used to having that us against them mentality with just about everything. right? And coming into a match with where everybody is cheering against them and booing them. So I think that they are comfortable in this position, and I think that I might give the slight advantage to Benfica just because I just think that Otavio remains such a huge loss, and I'm not sure if they've done enough to replace him. But yeah, like I said, Porto, they are the kings at alongside perhaps Atletico Madrid. They for the past 5 years have done an unprecedented job of soaking up pressure, of holding firm against attacking threats, and grinding out results no matter what. And they're a team that, yeah, I mean, they could continue playing as poorly as they have for the past few games, but are still going to reach that 80-point mark or so, right? They're going to be a force to be reckoned with no matter what under Conceição.
Nice, nice. Hey, check. Guess what? I forgot. I sent the link. I sent the link to Tom and to Albert from Long Ball Football, but I hit the wrong thing, man. I hit the wrong thing. Jesus Lord. Forgive me, guys. Forgive me, please forgive me. All right, it is what it is, man. It will be for the next time. Jesus crap, man. Hold on a second. Let me see if these guys if I get this, man, I don't have time now. I don't have time now. Crap. I'm so sorry. I put the thing in there. My God. All right. That's Tom. At least we're gonna get at least a couple minutes. Guys, he's on the stadium. Hey, Tom.
Hello. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Tom? I'm sorry. I thought I extended, and I didn't. Jesus, man. I put a link on it, and I completely forgot about it. I was like, why you guys are not coming in? Tom, can you hear me?
I can now. Yeah, I think my volume on max. It's a bit louder there, yeah? 60,000 people around me. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Awesome.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Hey, Tom, real quick, what do you think about this decision from Romario Barón, the starting 11?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I suppose you have to say a bit more of a conservative choice, I'd say, by Conceição. Andre Frankfurt has done quite well. He's been given a few starts in the last couple of games. He's really seems to be coming into his own. A player I know Zach knows a lot about. I've interviewed him a year ago or so. And yeah, but let's see. I think I was very surprised, I have to say. I don't know what you think about their very attacking. Always been quite conservative, but yeah, it's really attacking kind of responsible, isn't it?
Hey, Tom, let me ask you this. What's your prediction for the game today?
It's the $60 million question. Sometimes these early season classicals, I think they can have a few goals in them because, of course it's a Classico, it's a huge game in Portugal, a lot of prestige, but a bit less pressure than at the end of the season when you could have really the title hanging on the results. So I'm hoping for a game with a few goals. I'll go for maybe a Benfica win, 3-2.
Benfica wins 3-2. Okay, all right. I said 2-2.
Yeah.
I said 2-2, and Zach says it's going to be a high-scoring game tonight. He didn't say the score; he only mentioned the names. But he didn't say a score. Come on, Zach, give me a score because I gotta go now in like a couple of minutes. Give me a score. Give me numbers.
Oof, numbers. I am going to say Benfica 3, Porto 2.
Okay, all right. Okay, we got 4 goals, 5 goals, 5 goals. Hopefully, we get a lot of goals. I got my throat ready. I got my chamomile tea, my honey here. I got also my cola. But I'll be ready, guys. Hey, guys. Sorry, Tom. Hopefully, I catch with you later. I made a mistake with sending the link. I didn't send it. It's my apologies.
No problem.
But we gotta go now. Gotta do all the setup here, and hopefully it's a fantastic game. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Tom. We'll see you next time.
No problem. Enjoy the game. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.